we welcome you to Southern Florida and Miami. It's an Eastern Seaboard battle in the USL Championship, and it is presented by Helbiz. Miami FC to take on Hartford Athletic, two teams in very different places in this early championship stage. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr, glad to have you aboard for this one. Devin, the good news is the fans of Miami finally are getting a better idea of what Anthony Pulis is trying to project. We saw them at their best against Tampa Bay.
Let's get this out of the way right now, and I will tell you, last week, the Rowdies and Miami FC at Al Lang. It's one of the best performances I've seen all season by any team in the entire USL Championship. They won 1-0, but it was a brilliant performance, Mike. They dropped into a 3 at the back, 5 at times the way that you wanted to. First time all season, first time under Anthony Pulis. Limited the Rowdies to 2 shots on goal. It's only the 3rd time in the last 42 games. The other 2, Charlotte Independence knows something about that in 2021. Both losses for the Rowdies as well. Clean sheets in 3 of the last 5 games. Only Lou City has had more. Mike, when you take a look at the defenses around this league, everybody talks about Lou City. You want to talk about what Detroit City has started with up north at the Key and how quick they've gone. The Rowdies, of course, but Miami FC is right there, and here comes the identity of Pulis, meshing very well with some South Florida flair.
Connor Sparrow and the boys have done well in the back for Miami. They'll try and slow down a Hartford team that's actually managed to score pretty often this year, but it hasn't always resulted in wins.
You hear coaches talk about consistency, and that's a word that's thrown around unnecessarily too many times in conversations, right? But with this team, it truly is the definition of the word. 60 minutes, 75 minutes, 40 minutes here and there. They float in and out of matches, but they've scored in every single game, and they've been right there in every single contest so far. Colorado Springs, Pittsburgh, Phoenix, New Mexico, all playoff teams, some of which are talked about as some of the better teams in the entire championship. Let's shore up some of those silly mistakes, get back to business, put together a full 90.
All right, let's get it on in Miami. Nothing vanilla about this matchup. Hartford Athletic to take on Miami FC. Lineups and kickoff when we return to Ricardo Silva Stadium.
Some people think Miami is just flamingos and palm trees.
And hell yes, we have badass sunsets.
But Miami's Little Havana,
Doral,
Little Haiti,
Hialeah,
Wynwood, Coconut Grove,
Kendall,
Calle Ocho,
Sweetwater,
Homestead,
cortaditos y coladas
empanadas y croquetas.
is so much more. This is the 305.
This is who we really are. This is what we are all about.
I am Latino.
I'm a disruptor.
I am LGBTQ.
I am a villain.
I am a mother.
I am Haitian.
I am an athlete.
I am an activist.
I am a king.
I am American Dream.
I am the future.
I am
Miami FC.
Welcome back to Miami as Miami FC plays host to Hartford Athletic. Miami trying to string some wins together in the league. Hartford trying to get their first win of the season. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr, glad to have you back with us. Let's take a look at the starting lineups. They are brought to you by Helbiz. And Anthony Pulis, Devin, has made 2 changes bringing in Akinyoti and Murphy.
It's going to change the shape as well. Was really impressed with Miami FC against the Tampa Bay Rowdies, but they dropped into a 3 with wingbacks. This is going to look more like a 4-2-3-1. A lot of movement within that front 3. They got to find a way to start taking advantage of all these opportunities they're producing in the final third. One of the best defensive units, but it's time to start bearing their fruits on the other side of the field. Watch for Josh Perez and De Silva to try and get involved on the inverted runs with their number 10. When you transition to Hartford Athletic and Harry Watling, we referenced consistency was their key. I see them in a 3 with Asha Pollen on the left, Joel Johnson on the right. Great combination from Johnson in 21 and Sylvain Marveau on that right-hand flank. They're hoping that that combination now comes with Rashawn Dolly up top. Harry Watling said, really feel like he hasn't hit his ceiling yet, and I can be the guy to get him there. Danny Breyer will drop in deeper. How does his rotation look within the midfield? How much defensive effort is he going to have to give against Miami coming forward and yet still be able to provide that spark going the other way to guys like Prince A.D. and Andre Lewis?
So Hartford and Miami ready to go here. Devin, you know, you think about what we talked about in the open here about Miami FC going to Tampa Bay. Came with a big tactical switch. They went to a 3-back. We just saw the lineup you put out. What makes you think it ends up that way?
Well, number one, you bring in a second midfielder in Bolu Akinyoti that is just, it's going to sit deeper. That's as simple as that. He'll be next to Speedy Williams. There he is right there. You've got 2 traditional 6s that can step into an 8, none of which really want to make that full-sided venture into the attacking third unless necessary, because you've got 4 guys that can easily help you do that. 2 talented outside backs. The good news is, though, is that if things aren't going right, you now have the versatility within your squad that you previously hadn't over the past 2 seasons for Miami FC. Hartford Athletic are going to have to keep a keen eye because they can shape-shift as well, but they're still looking for their first win of the season.
Joshua Encarnacion gives the nod to the sideline. He'll blow the whistle. And along the Atlantic coast tonight in Florida, Hartford Athletic and Miami FC meeting on a scenic, picturesque night in Florida. USL Championship on the air on this Saturday night. 2 teams deciding to wear different shades of blue, Devin. That surely won't cause any problems. It's the light shade for Miami. You and I had a chat with the coaches, both Anthony Pulis and Harry Watling, both younger guys, about 5 years apart from England, and they said they finally got a chance to talk a little bit this week. Didn't know each other all that well, but did get a kick out of the idea that both would be playing in blues tonight.
There's a ton of respect floating around the league for the boys from across the pond, and kind of funny that that's the first conversation that's had is, what kits will you be wearing?
De Silva pushed away by Tulu.
One way to introduce yourself, right?
Devin and I also color coordinated tonight.
Mr. Pulis, this is Mr. Watling. We'll be in the blues. So will we. Cheers, gentlemen.
A little bit of trouble from Kyle Murphy in the back. And Jadama will throw. This will find Aiden Stanley. And now Paco Craig, who's crossed over the 10,000 minute threshold in the league this year. Well, for his career, he did it this year. There's Craig. Williams. Pirouette from Segbers. Lewis steps in, high pressure from Hartford here at the outset.
It's still so surprising to me, Mike, watching the body of work, that Hartford Athletic haven't been able to garner a victory yet this season. You know, I'm very critical of all the teams around the USL Championship, but when you watch the performances that have put forth by the boys from the Northeast, they've deserved better, to be fair. But I mentioned earlier, consistency, that's one. The other side of it is their creativity has really been kind of a two-pronged argument where they've been much better within the second half of the game, which is funny because they haven't scored in the second half of a game yet. So even though the goals that they put up on the board have come in the opening 45 minutes, the better run of play and the chances created had actually been on the latter portion of halftime.
Saw Harry Watling there, the 32-year-old in his second season. Replaced Roddy Jaidi. Led the group to a really resilient 2020 season, won their division. Last year, Hartford finishing just outside the postseason. Ironically, however, Devin, they start 3 losses and a draw this year. They started 3 wins and a draw last year, still missed the postseason. So very possible that a different kind of start might lead to a different kind of conclusion.
You hit the nail on the head, though. That team under Roddy Jaidi, there was a resilience within them, right? Like, they weren't always the most flashy team. They certainly weren't a team that jumped in your face on a regular basis, but they were always right there. You know, they threw some massive punches in their games, which enabled them to get some quality results. And some of those punches, and I'll use the boxing terminology as Harry Watling gave to us about heavyweight fighters and sparring partners and things like that. This team has that capability, but how regularly can you show up and do it? Because, you know, we've sort of seen, okay, they started slow against Birmingham. Well, you give up goals, you give up chances, then you kind of took over the game, didn't really have anything to show for it, and at the end, you're grasping for straws once again. That's really been how their season has gone all of 2022 compared to that team you just referenced.
Group that got a 1-1 draw against those mighty Rowdies that Miami just slayed on Saturday. That escaped the line from Perez. Becoming a more regular part of El Salvador's national team setup since arriving in Miami. Vassell. There's Connor Sparrow. Vassell in the Jamaican national team with some consistency after time at LAFC. Perez wins the free kick, and that's a really early tactical yellow card to Vassell.
A lot of referees this early on will let you get away with it. Just a stern warning possibly, but not the case here this evening. Joshua Encarnacion laying the law down, and there's that little inversion that I talked about though, right? Of Perez coming to the inside. That's the argument from Harry Watling on the sideline. It's the first one. We're 6 minutes into the match. Nobody's really done anything wrong. Certainly haven't even RSVP'd, and yet all of a sudden you're being thrown out of the party.
Well, Vassell hasn't exactly had a simple start to the year. It's his second yellow to go with a red card. Good sprint in here from Florian Vallot. Stanley. Vallot, both dealing with early season injuries and healthy now. Vallot once more. Stanley. De Silva. Bypassing Johnson, Vallot at the end line. Really calm stuff from Miami. De Silva from Murphy. Kept alive. Segbers dances through. Encarnacion had a long look. There's Anthony Pulis looking on.
I tell you, Mike, first of all, this isn't a penalty. My question as to whether or not he actually clipped him is just outside the box when he starts to fall, so that's where the contact may or may not occur. Again, the angle, his right foot almost drops back to lead the player into the tackle a little bit. It's really hard to tell as to whether or not there is any force in it, though, is there?
But Devin, you, as a center back, I think you know as well as anybody, somewhat ill-advised to an extent to go in
Oh, I'm not,
from behind that
yeah,
way.
I'm not stepping in
However,
there.
to do it just outside the penalty area might be a little more aware than we give credit.
It does give you an idea, though, when you're scrambling that early on in a game, your nerves are rattled a little bit. That's a player making a decision out of his comfort zone. It's looking around going, they've had a ton of ball. They're coming at us once again. They're coming right down the middle. I have to make a play, and I have to do it now. When he actually had support on the defensive front, you had a couple players in his front, which is in front of the player attacking, that he could have easily just provided a little bit of pressure, let one of the defenders step up into the space. Whether or not he actually closed it down and gets into a tackle is another story. But that's some of those mistakes that we've seen from Hartford Athletics so far this year, where you give up a silly foul, you give up a silly chance. Fortunately for them, it doesn't end up in the back of the net, because previous games, they've gone down 1-0, and that's where I mentioned the scrambling, trying to make their way back into a match.
Well, Hartford's got their foot on the ball with a little more consistency now. Johnson threading through. That's beyond Rashawn Dolly. Grabbed here by Sparrow. Jake McGuire, 3 starts this year. Now Sparrow, 3 starts in the league. That ball hit with a little bit of malaise, and Craig. There's a foul from Velo. And a yellow card for kicking it away. And again, it feels that one a little more by the book. Really early to brandish.
Your attention, please. A yellow card has been issued to Miami FC's number 10, Gloria Below. The time of the yellow card is the 10th minute.
Let's see what Hartford can produce here. The always sterling left foot of Danny Barrera. Ten minutes gone. Hartford on 1 point through 4 games under Harry Watling. Feeling like they can maybe get 1, could lead to 2, could lead to 3. They've got an Open Cup game against New York Red Bulls coming up on Wednesday. And then they host Detroit, go away to an Indy side that's been a little up and down. Then they host Loudoun after a start to the year, Devin, where it felt like they got sent on a barnstorming tour through the South, which is great in terms of not playing in 30-degree weather, not so great in making for an easy schedule.
I can remember when this team made its debut into the USL Championship just a couple of seasons ago. 7 games on the road. 7.
0-7, and I think all 7 either made the postseason or were in the top 11. I think they all made it.
I remember Jimmy Nielsen was at the helm, and he said, our season was over before it began. I mean, that's kind of the way it was. Now, to be fair, that was the scheduling thing in 2019. There's the pandemic in 20. We talked about what Roddy Jaidi did. Things have changed. If you look at just the demographics, the temperature, Mother Nature getting involved, they would actually prefer to be away from home a little bit, right? You know, you're not exactly going to draw. And around the league, these teams rely heavily on gate admissions, concessions, things of that nature. So you can fully understand why they've gotten away from home a little bit more. Certainly doesn't make it easier on the players or Harry Watling, though, does it?
No. There's a difference between doing a solid to the team versus doing a solid to the players and the coach.
Also, at Pitt, at Tampa Bay, Atlanta United 2 at home. Okay, I'll give you that one. At Birmingham, at Miami. I mean, 4 out of those 5, you're not just making an argument for a good team. You're talking about playoff caliber teams that truly have championship aspirations, and a lot of people around the league think they have the ability to fulfill them.
Look at this Miami team. They'd be one of those groups that's on the cusp. That consideration in early days under Anthony Pulis. Group driving forward now. Segbers bypasses Lewis. Akinyoti. Stanley. Rosetto Femu. And now Segbers. Williams. Velo Williams, the return. Segbers. Ball slashed to goal by Murphy and pushed aside by James Slayton. Well, it sat up really nicely for Murphy. Let's take a look at a replay brought to you by Hellbiz Live.
Starts with the ball movement for Miami FC, and we've said the entire time this team has really started to tick at another level. But what could you do once you got to in or around the top of the 18? Got to find your number 9. They do that. They find Murphy. He finds the bottom corner, but Jimmy Slayton steps up in his championship debut with a spectacular save in 22.
Slayton, 23 years old from Connecticut, couple of years at Real Monarchs, got 15 games in there. Sat behind Austin Pack to start the year. And the pride of the Hartford Hawks spreading his wings here in Miami. Corner coming for Miami FC. Driven toward Craig. Touched out by Jadama.
How good was that ball movement, by the way? I mean, that's what you just saw out of Miami FC. With all due respect, the guys that are there and Anthony Pulis coming in, that's something that started long before preseason and these guys stepping foot into this organization. That was last year, right? Paul Dalglish, the playmakers that he had. You bring in the defensive shape that we've become so accustomed to under Anthony Pulis. Some new additions like Aiden Stanley and Segbers. That's the end result. Brilliant to watch.
Leading touch, Sadie. And Devin, it's not something that Anthony Pulis' sides were exactly known for on the turf in St. Louis. And there's an element of a different kind of player that's been recruited to come to Miami than maybe existed in St. Louis. But also I think there's a lot of growth. You and I had a chance to talk to Anthony Pulis now a couple times. It's been fun listening to him describe as this ball bounces all the way through, rounding the keeper, Murphy! Quarter of an hour in, it all happened so quick. A Miami FC goal powered by Hellbiz.
This team put together some brilliant performances last year. We just talked a little bit about the movement and guys that have returned. But one area, the main focal point you had to go find this year was a striker. Who was it gonna be? The big name coming off right away, Kyle Murphy. 21 goals in 32 matches last season. In such similar fashion, has yet to break the deadlock this year. And 5 games in, he finally finds his pay dirt for the boys in blue.
The boys in light blue.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
15th minute goal from Kyle Murphy. Memphis' all-time leading goal scorer in such a short amount of time. He's got his first for Miami FC.
Friendly reminder, Memphis, Loudoun, and RGV. All 3 of the organizations that Kyle Murphy has had an opportunity to be a part of. He is currently their leading scorer. Now I'm sure with the talent they've added, that'll change. But not many a man has had the opportunity to say that they've been at the top of that statistic for 3 teams.
Ball whisked across, and it'll get over Johnson.
Keep it! Keep it! Second ball! Hey! Referee! Yeah!
This will roll back Jimmy Slayton. gradually, Devin, I'll get on a first name basis, less of a what was on your birth certificate kind of relationship with Jimmy Slayton.
Well, then you get on the birth certificate names, or you get what my mother does and just uses different words that aren't exactly in agreement with the 5 letters that I was given.
I was growing up with a 4-letter nickname. It just wasn't Mike. Ball whittles wide from Dolly, and now across, handled by Sparrow.
One day you'll tell me why you're called Ronnie.
Okay, with only one N.
We know it's funny, given the area that my life is in now. I always wonder why people end up calling people different things. Where I'm getting at is my grandmother, she would rotate through an assortment of names, none of which were any of my variety. So, you know, Michael, Kevin, Dana. Dana is my female cousin, by the way. Brandy, Jameson, which at that point in time were my mother's dachshunds. And I would just sort of look at my grandma and I go, Graham. She'd go, what's your name again? My mom would do the same thing. So what's it really matter? What's in a name, Mike? I'm doing the same thing now is where I'm getting.
Well, and depending on the level of frustration, my mother would just go oldest to youngest through all 5 kids. That's a whole different deal. You're working toward that.
I've corrected you with Michael a couple of times, and I've noticed that hit a mark. That's gone places in your past.
Ball rolled ahead. Sadie, that's punched away awkwardly. Barrera knocks it wide. He went down. Johnson swings across. Lewis couldn't turn it on frame. They are really excited about Andre Lewis, a player that they had hoped to acquire the year prior and comes over from Colorado Springs. Here's Lewis on the ball now. Tough challenge, and referee allows play to continue. Could be to Hartford's detriment, although Perez had to slow down. Good work by Tulu to take that over the line. There's Brewitt. Couldn't quite get his head to that ball. Launched over the top. That was turned home by Kyle Murphy for the opener tonight. Joel Johnson. Barrera, brilliant, and that's going to land in Fort Lauderdale from Vassell.
I like what they're doing, though. Peter Lee Vassell has actually come to the single pivot underneath. Andre Lewis, Danny Barrera. They've actually spread the midfield out a little bit, pushed the 2 wingbacks higher, and dropped Sadie and Dolly down at times. And what it's doing, it's caused a lot of confusion on this back line. Ofemu, Paco, Craig, the runners, where they're going to be. That's a handball.
Long wait. There's the whistle. Referee gestures for the handball and the free kick.
And with all that movement, not only is it rotation of players, but the space. Unaccustomed to being occupied in that fashion for the 2 strikers for Hartford Athletic. You'll see one come at times, or Danny Barrera will slide up next to one and push one even further. But not normally do they both come and then go even further wide with the 2 midfielders. And you wonder the way that the referee has given out cards so far, why this one isn't dished out. Just below that lower arm, it is intentional for sure. And the Liverpudlian Tom Brewitt knows better.
There's some who would argue that by being a Liverpudlian, he might not, but you are not one of those folks.
No, he can do no wrong. Trust me. If I'm at home, that's not a foul. It's not a foul. It's not a card, and the referee is swallowing that whistle. But on this broadcast now, got to call it right down the middle.
Indeed. As Zach Steffen said today, oops. Stanley put that down. Wasn't immobile quite long enough. clever idea. See if Valot's the one to put this in play again. It is. There goes Lewis. Back by Dolly. Taken on by Vassell. They felt like Vassell came in, completely changed the game last time out against Birmingham.
He's the type of player that, when he's got the hot hand, so to say, Mike, you can understand why LAFC went and got him. Caribbean Combine MVP back in 2018. Trial over in Norwich start, and then LAFC gets him. They loaned him out, but he still had a couple of opportunities under Bob Bradley, regularly making appearances in the 18. Good tactician of the ball, decent IQ, change of pace, change of direction. His issue at times is he kind of floats in and out of matches, which is what the argument has been for Hartford at the start of the year. But again, when he's into it, Jay Key, as he goes by within his friend circle, he can knock it around with the best of them.
Sparrow. Banged off of Jadama. And Segber's lost us the touchline. Deb, you got to think this stadium, I don't know if it's going to be packed. I know there's still tickets available, as this is dangerous enough to just narrowly get over the bar. Slayton had that well read all along. Inter Miami on Tuesday, coming to Miami FC. Probably the biggest Open Cup game for Miami FC since the quarterfinal back in the NASL days against FC Cincinnati. The game, Dev, you and I tried to go to, but got rained out, thunderstorm that night.
Funny how that works. Sorry, boys. your night of fun and predestined wealth is being put on pause.
Bouncing ball through. Bad idea. Sadie's done well to maintain it. Joel Johnson came in from Charlotte. You'd argue, you know, Miami last year, playoffs against Louisville, in the mix for one of the bigger games in recent times for Miami FC. That Open Cup game a couple of years ago. Well, a couple Open Cups ago. We're talking, what, 4, 5, 6, 7 years now?
Carry the one.
Lewis. That'll carry him off of Akinyoti, lead to a corner. That Inter Miami game's going to be fun. You're calling that one the Miami Derby.
They're ripe for the picking, too, Inter Miami squad. I get it. They're coming off a pretty decent performance against the Supporter Shield winners of New England Revolution, but that Revolution team has been struggling. They get a 3-2 victory. Cross country, Seattle Sounders, late game tonight, then come back over, short rest, if at any.
If any. They put out Fort Lauderdale CF, it may be to their detriment. Vassell delivers.
After the ball.
Well, limbs were flying everywhere here.
See what happened to our fight.
And a lot of pain there for Paco Craig.
Some shouts coming from Anthony Pulis. That's the familiar voice that you're hearing right now. Watch right here. The argument's got to be from behind him, because with Paco Craig going down, you obviously couldn't see it in that picture. And the follow through, Kyle Murphy as a little step in up top. Let's see if we can give you a better look from another angle. All the way back across. Watch the right in the center of your screen right here. That's a little different.
Did he get booked for that?
Here, Anthony Pulis asking if Paco Craig going down in that fashion resulted in a booking, and there was no card.
Can you blame him? The way that the game started? Two quick cards. I'm just saying, like, if you're going to set a standard like that and call the game that tight, you've got to do it in its entirety.
No, and that's why, to your point, that first yellow card, yes, it's a transition moment, but are you going to give a card then the opening 5-10 minutes, and at that point set the tone for the entire 90? They did, but it doesn't play out that time around. Volo dropped that down brilliantly. Segber's trying to get back on top of it, and instead carried away by Pollen. Miami firmly grasps it once more. De Silva, delightful ball all the way to the back post and whipped off the outside of the netting by Perez. Not sure Perez was his first target, but that late run gives them another look.
The problem is Apollon, who you just mentioned, doesn't pick it up either. He's really slow to react on this back post run by Josh Perez. And one of the great things that you get out of this front line for Miami FC is De Silva, Below, and Perez. They're all capable of playing the 10, the 7, or the 11. So you'll see a lot of movement inside and out, switching right to left. Kyle Murphy will remain the constant and the number 9 spot up top, but otherwise there's a lot of movement that you got to keep an eye on if you're on that back line or even one of the 2 wingbacks.
Good to get that wide by Sadie. He's making the run down into the corner. Segber's in pursuit. Corner, Hartford Athletic, as we close in on half an hour in Miami. DJ Citizen Jane's got a poster up over there, was part of the draw. The last 2 names picked, Miami and Inter Miami, for the upcoming Open Cup window. Ball ripped across, caromed off the head of Velo. Vassal. Little room to let a shot away. Apollon pushed off the post by Sparrow.
You can give respect, but you can't give this much space to someone who's got a left peg that can do this from that distance. Watch the ball. Barely moving. Knuckles at the tail end of it. Some kind of save by Connor Sparrow, though, even just to get a touch on it to keep it out of the back of the net.
The ensuing corner. Johnson got a piece. 2 players down for Miami. Velo arguing that that should have been a goal kick. It'll be a corner. Won by Jadama, and again, it's Paco Craig down. Dev, I'm not sure for Miami. You get the feeling that there were some players Anthony Pulis always wanted on his squad in St. Louis, but maybe didn't quite have the budget or the ability to go attain. Well, Craig, it's tangling up this time with his own player.
Both center backs, too. Ben Ofemu, someone that maybe he would have liked to have on that St. Louis squad. He's been admiring him for quite some time.
So he goes out, he has Paco Craig on the roster. He gets Ofemu, but they're it center back wise. They are so thin there right now.
That was kind of an awkward part of our conversation, wasn't it? You never want to ask a coach that, right? Like, you're this far down the barrel. What's the next grasp? And he said, you know, we've got a few things. Mentioned the ability to be changeling within the systems themselves. Drop into 3, drop into 5.
Was there a yellow card? Because Craig was attended to and stays on the field here. There wasn't a yellow. The spin, Tulu watches this out.
Well, that's an interesting one. Got to come, don't you?
Well,
the medical staff came on the field.
The following groups were coming out tonight.
I don't know if you have to come. You definitely have to go briefly.
Yeah.
Autism Speaks, Sevilla Academy, on the pitch lead, the Gay Brigade, Miami Bearded Villains, Soccer Mini.
33rd minute here. Dev, you and I just had a whole substitution debacle in the Open Cup with FC Motown and Westchester United that resulted in a game we called being completely started over again from scratch later that week.
Well, the referees on the sidelines telling them that the temporary concussion sub was contingent upon the head referee's decision making, which he said, yes, it is in fact in place. Guys on the sideline were told it. They went ahead with it, given the wrong information.
Did you ever have a game completely restarted?
No. I've had games that have been, like, thrown away.
Sure.
Never had to restart a game, though,
I mean,
or
Miami
replay. Last year with Pittsburgh, of course. Talk about interesting refereeing. I mean,
that's one way to put it.
Let's just say that I'd like to keep some of those guys on my Christmas card list this year, so we're going to stay away from that subject.
Understood. In the end, there was an all's well that ends well scenario that came of all that.
So quick right now, Miami FC to the outside, play up top direct. I mentioned how you had Peter Lee Vassell underneath. Gets away with one there, the shoulder from behind, but with him underneath, there's so much space to operate in on the interior.
Murphy, Williams, good kick slide away. Still through Stanley. As far as De Silva. Stanley led that back. This has just been a little helter-skelter defensively from Hartford, but it gets the job done. And now Lewis whistled for a foul. Just when he thought Hartford Athletic was in the clear.
That's a lot going on. Just watch all the space at the top of the 18. You know, Perez had come in, Murphy rotates out. There's a late trailing run that you don't always see from their midfielders, Speedy Williams. If you decide to hold one underneath, that's so much better for the attacking front. It allows you to have more numbers going forward, but defensively, Danny Barrera, Andre Lewis got to be really careful with these quick attacks that are coming. As direct as Miami FC is being, they're getting around the two wingbacks. Joel Johnson and Apollon are having to track back a lot, and really, you're just picking out who the next pass is. They're not really having to worry about where the confrontation is coming from because there isn't one.
Below. Speedy Williams. They are Miami FC. They've been playing all the hits today. Is there a song you'd like them to play? We can make a request.
I don't think they know any Britney Spears One More Time. Can't get it off the old iPod. What can I say?
Stanley. That ball's excellent, especially with Perez on the other end. Overlap arrives from Segbers. He's turned that down. Instead by Akinyoti. Stanley. De Silva. De Silva. Floated away. Back by Velo. Have to chest that down. Ultimately lands on Akinyoti's foot. Pierre De Silva once more. De Silva seeking Perez. That's away by Jadama. Really aggressive Jadama in this Hartford back line. We saw Brewitt step a little higher, and this is turned over to Hartford. Sadie. Dolly. Looking for Lewis. Craig arrives. Craig puts his body on the line again. And Joelle Johnson supremely frustrated.
That's the shoulder on Paco Craig, who gets there first, but also the intent right there. Oh, it's definitely Craig there first. And how about on the other side, you have Florian Velo. This is the argument being made by the manager from Miami FC and Anthony Pulis. Florian Velo got a yellow for kicking the ball away. What's the difference, he's saying? Can't say I disagree with him. He did this one right in front of the AR, too.
Jadama, there's so much pressure back there.
When they've been on the ball, they're very clean, Hartford. And there's the little cheekiness of Peter Lee Vassell in the midfield. But now here, silly turnover, and then look at the space.
Trying to get back into play, Sadie. Velo dishes out Perez. Crossfield, De Silva. De Silva! Went for the near post. Sends Slayton leaping, but it's off target.
It's a really good move by Peter Lee Vassell to get the attack started, then a silly turnover in the midfield, and everybody's compacted so close together. So Miami FC can really pick their poison going the other way. Right to left real quick. Kyle Murphy rotates out. Little late run on the back shoulder from Pierre De Silva. Again, inside, outside. There's so many options for this Miami FC team moving forward now.
Can you believe the drum solo that's about to happen? There's only 4 drums over there, but when they get to that all-important moment. 41st minute. Miami the advantage. The first for Kyle Murphy in a Miami FC kit.
Warning nada más. Nada más un warning.
Long diagonal sends Jadama trailing. Perez got there first. Tries to spin around Jadama, who's up to the task. Take it back, Segbers. Has options. Segbers. Dip from Perez. Williams.
Hats off to Modou Jadama here, because he saves 2 really good opportunities that could have been for Miami FC. Left back for Hartford Athletic, wearing 23, far side, just off the left shoulder of Kyle Murphy. Same story though. Good tackle, plays out, they get caught, has to track back again, stops another attack. These are the things we talk about coming in though, Mike. They get themselves in trouble a lot more than other teams usually break that down. Now tonight's a different story, but you can see where the quality is.
Dev, did you ever help forwards up like that?
No. Well, only if I was buying them adult beverages after the game that we won.
Murphy went down after being shielded off by the aforementioned Jadama. Hartford with 3 minutes in stoppage time here to try and pull level. Lewis. There's Barrera. His inclusion in this game declined at the time that Miami started to seize a little more control.
I would also make the argument that when they dropped Peter Lee Vassell down underneath, you know, it was a good look for all of about 5 minutes. And since then, they've really struggled with any sort of combination play. That's right there. A lot of one-on-ones and 2v1s defensively against them. Quick turnover now. Everybody's sprinting the other way to catch up.
Perez. Oh, through the legs of Murphy. He nutmegged his own man. Velo, Stanley. Came off of Williams. Dev, I think some of the conversation about Miami was prioritizing momentum over rest at this stage of the season. It's the thought process about what we've seen here through nearly 45 minutes, and surely that can change in short order.
Still only 1-0. It doesn't matter how good you've been, what you've created, you're still only up by 1, and they've had a couple of chances here. The one that Murphy just missed right there that could have easily made it 2. That's something that Anthony Pulis will definitely address at halftime with his guys, because this Hartford team, I mentioned they haven't scored a second half goal, but they've created a ton of chances. And deep down, a team that hasn't won yet this season, but has put together some quality showings within their matches. Maybe not a full 90. They're hungry. That desire is going to be there. And the fact that you're still within striking distance, only down 1-0, it makes me nervous if I'm Anthony Pulis, even though they have been the much better team here in the first 45 minutes.
If there's one thing we know about Hartford, it's they've scored in every game they've played this year.
Bingo, bingo, and that's another thing is, look, this team doesn't concede. Miami FC, Hartford Athletic does score. Something has to give there, right? I mean, that's simple mathematics.
We've entered the first of 2 minutes of stoppage time. Perez. Below trying to combine with Murphy. Seeing that relationship grow a little bit right now.
I was actually surprised at how much Miami FC was utilizing the left-hand flank so much at the start of the game. There's another turnover.
Da Silva hit the post. This dude hits lightning bolts. And Da Silva watching this tail away at the end.
The good news for Hartford Athletic, though, is that it hasn't struck twice. Some kind of strike. Another poor turnover from Hartford Athletic. Slayton 100% beaten, if not for that ridiculous thing on the outside of the goal. I mean, honestly, they've been very lucky here in the first half.
Whistle blows. That's overzealous from Rashawn Dolly. And Craig again. And you wonder just how far you're willing to push Paco Craig, knowing you've got those injuries in the back, Antonelli, Chapman Page, and knowing you play Miami, Inter Miami, that big derby match on Tuesday. If you're up 2 or 3 right now, maybe you could try something. But by not converting those couple of chances, and to be fair, some tougher than others, you've still got another 45 minutes of a really competitive game here.
I'm actually, and I agree with everything that you said, I'm actually more focused right now. If I'm Anthony Pulis, I'm still up top, because you can't pull Craig off. Like you said, it's 2 or 3-0 maybe, but that's a wish list that isn't anywhere near completion at this point in time. You're not going to change shape. You're not going to bring Palacios off the bench and sit Paco Craig down. What you are going to do is talk to the boys about being more clinical in the final third. Created a ton of chances, only 1 goal to show for it. And if you're Harry Watling, much of the same. Guys, we have to be better within ourselves. Stop giving them opportunities to take this game over, because they've been pretty decent on the ball. It's the gifts they've been giving to the home squad and then the chasing they're doing defensively that has gotten them in trouble.
Well, Sparrows kept the sheet clean for the time being. Slayton has been pushed a couple of times in this first half, concedes on Murphy's dink over the top in the 16th minute. And Miami holds the halftime advantage. Coming up at the break, a look at news and notes around the league, first half highlights and more. Harry Watling's side looking for their first win of the season, and a tough venue to go to in Miami. Slayton up to the task time and time again, but Murphy found the opener. We've got plenty more coming up. Halftime is presented by Macron, and it's coming up next.
I am determined.
I am a dreamer.
I am a Jamaican.
I am Peruano.
I am Italian.
I am relentless.
I am an animal.
I am French.
I am a Geta Diamond. I am resilient.
Some people think Miami is just flamingos and palm trees.
And hell yes, we have badass sunsets.
But Miami's Little Havana,
Doral,
Little Haiti,
Hialeah,
Wynwood, Coconut Grove,
Kendall,
Calle Ocho,
Sweetwater,
Homestead,
cortaditos y coladas
empanadas y croquetas.
is so much more. This is the 305.
This is who we really are. This is what we are all about.
I am Latino.
I'm a disruptor.
I am LGBTQ.
I am a villain.
I am a mother.
I am Haitian.
I am an actor.
I am an activist.
I am a king.
I am American Dream.
I am the future.
I am.
I am
Miami FC.
Welcome back to Ricardo Silva Stadium in Miami. Halftime is presented by Macron. Miami FC holds the lead, 16th minute from Kyle Murphy. Hartford Athletic trying to get back into the mix here. We'll take a look at first half highlights and more as halftime continues after these messages.
Taking the lead.
Great finish. Cue the smoke.
It's a goal for Orange County SC and their first of the season.
And that's full time. The old guard with a new trophy. Orange County wins the USL Championship final. Halftime is presented by Macron. Shop the new 305 and La Ciudad Macron kits at MiamiFC.com. The Miami FC with a 1-0 lead over Hartford. Let's take a look at news and notes from around the championship. Dev, there are 14 championship clubs, 8 League One clubs that moved on.
League One was better. Simple as that. League One was brilliant in the U.S. Open Cup. But can you now follow it up again? Danny Trejo, what if I told you that a Las Vegas Lights press ended up in another goal on the road at the Pittsburgh Riverhounds that gave him 6 on the season? I'd be right. He just scored again tonight.
You would. See, here are the scores right here. A 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. Detroit yesterday, the accountant coming up with the clean sheet.
Steinwasser's been great for them, and that's, to me, one of their most impressive, if not the most impressive result of the season, outside of the draw against Pittsburgh. My question is, though, how good is it really? Because Birmingham has been really, really bad, and they've got a tremendous amount of talent. Detroit's also at home. I'm ready for Detroit City and Trevor James to go away from the key, go get a result at Birmingham, at Indy, at the Rowdies, come home with 3 points there. Then we'll start talking contender in the playoffs.
And for Tampa Bay, by the way, the Twine got murdered by Lewis Hilton in the 3rd minute. That highlight is sick. Here's the upcoming schedule, Dev, on ESPN Plus and on local stations around the country. San Diego, Louisville, #1 in the East, #1 in the West. Games in hand, all that. Dev, you have Phoenix in New Mexico. They play again this week.
You know what's interesting to me? The most interesting stat that I pull out of any matches that we have up and coming, I was shocked by this, given everything that we've seen in this Phoenix-New Mexico rivalry. I say rivalry because New Mexico United has never won a game against Phoenix Rising in the USL Championship.
Wow.
They've only ever won against Phoenix in the Open Cup, and they had to go to penalties to do it.
All right, we'll try this again tonight, see how it shaves out this week. Miami, a 1-0 lead. Macron halftime rolls on.
I am determined.
I am a dreamer.
I am a Jamaican.
I am Peruano.
I am Italian.
I am relentless.
I am an animal.
I am French.
I get the diamond. I am resilient.
Tonight's match is presented in part by Helbiz, by Miami Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute, and by Macron. Ricardo Silva Stadium. It'll be host to Miami FC and Inter Miami this week for the Open Cup. Worth getting tickets for that one. Worth sticking around for the conclusion of this one. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr. Here's a look at the Helbiz Live first half highlights. We start in the 13th minute. This is the best we saw from Jimmy Slayton.
How's it going to look for a goalkeeper making his debut in 2022 USL Championship season? Couple appearances for the Monarchs. It's a different animal. You come down south. Great response, though. Jimmy Slayton, bottom corner. Kyle Murphy off and running. But they would come right back at it. Miami FC, beautiful ball movement. Watch this. Side to side, let's unbalance you. Then we're going to go direct up over the top. Great diagonal from Kyle Murphy. Easy picking. 48th career USL Championship goal, regular and postseason. How many times have we seen him do it just like that, Mike?
16th minute, same old, same old. First in a Miami FC uniform. Skip ahead. Apollon, why not? That is a laser beam.
Where's Kyle Murphy? Where's Florian Velo? Neither Speedy Williams nor Bolu Akinyoti step up into the space. So their outside wingback says, you know what? I'll take it. But it's a fantastic save by Connor Sparrow. Could easily be a Save of the Week nominee. And De Silva, woo! Uncorks this thing from distance. Jimmy Slayton, love from the woodwork. Lucky to only be at 1-0.
Here are the halftime stats. Hartford more the possession, and look, they have some bright moments, but at the end of the half, they're probably a bit lucky. It's only 1-0.
Really efficient in combination play from the top of their box to just inside the center circle, and that's a problem. You're talking about a 30-yard area, Mike, that you've gotten to, and then you basically give it away. And your question to me just before halftime was, on the other side of it, if you're Hartford looking to shore it up, what about Miami FC on the back line because of the injuries that had been sustained in the first half to Paco Craig? You have to imagine this is the response from Anthony Pulis.
Indeed, Craig comes off and Palacios comes on here to start the second half of play. First sub by either team, no window used. And that's a really painful sub if it has any ill effects moving forward. They don't have the depth to deal with that for a long period of time. They're hoping Palacios can be the answer, at least for 45 minutes here tonight. Hartford in the dark blue move right to left in this second half of play at Ricardo Silva Stadium, the campus of FIU in Miami. Vassell pushes over. There's Lewis. Palacios, good amount of experience, but we typically don't see him play center back. That's going to be the intriguing part of this.
Paul Dalglish has used him there before. Of course, that's all in the past. But to the topic of conversation in the first half about what the depth would like at the center back position, that is your answer. At this point in time, it's just Junior Palacios coming off the bench.
Joel Johnson, header from Dolly, skips off frame.
This will slide Benufemu over to the left, just underneath the right shoulder of Aiden Stanley. Little shift on that side. Like to see more of this, getting Joel Johnson down into the channel. One touch, look up and go find one of the trailing runs. Barely saw that at all within the first half. It starts with the defensive shape, the press, when they start to send numbers, the space in behind. Really good job by Miami FC bypassing that in the opening 45 minutes.
Little hacky sack sees Tulu bring this back. Jadama will send this into the bleachers. Barrera, good hold up by Dolly, and Barrera galloping ahead. There's Johnson again. Devin, oftentimes in football, we talk about being known by the company you keep on the books at Real Madrid and Valencia for such a long period of time. And all these years we got to see him at Charlotte with Mike Jeffries, and talking a little bit with Harry Watling, he said that was one of the first calls he made when he found out that Charlotte was going to head to League One. Mike Jeffries.
Yeah, he's had his eyes on him from his beginning tenure within the USL Championship. Joel Johnson almost went a century and a half for the Charlotte Independents. 146 appearances.
Okay. I was thinking in years. I'm like, Dev,
it felt like it, didn't it? It felt like it. I mean, it's hard to believe that he started back in 2016. I mean, I can remember that Charlotte Independence squad of 2017 that gave the Bob Lilly Rochester Rhinos a run for their money in the Eastern Conference.
6 years. It's 151 all competitions, including the Open Cup at Charlotte Independence. He played 160 games overseas in Spain in the lower divisions before coming over. So nearly half of his career came with Charlotte Independence, and we got a chance to watch him blossom in that time.
How good was he last year, too? I mean, that
when
entire
he finally
team
came in, yeah.
I mean, it's amazing what a player can do when he's got quality talent around him. And I say that with all due respect to the guys that he's sharing a locker room with him this year, but you just can't compare to guys like Gabriel Oberton, Sylvain Marveau, Christian Fuchs. I mean, you're talking about legitimate world-class players. How's that company keeping you?
Some of that company's in Charlotte now, notably Fuchs. Charlotte FC gonna see Greenville triumph in the Open Cup this week on Wednesday night. Oh, brilliant. Speedy Williams. Greenville under John Hart's just knocked off Oakland as well, so they've got another upset in mind. Hartford's going to see New York. Miami got a look at Inter Miami. Aiden Stanley goes down. I'll talk about how he's a young leader in this group, Aiden Stanley. And that he knows what Anthony Pulis is looking for from his time in St. Louis. He was the first St. Louis FC Academy kid that got into the first team there.
Mentioned that he could be one of the premier left backs in the country. Thought that was an interesting statement coming from someone who's really seen a ton of talent in his time in this league.
Valo, Perez, Tulu let that out.
Lest we forget, it's not just St. Louis, right? It's OCB, it's Inter Miami, MLS. He's kind of seen it all, but with Aiden Stanley, young player, USL championship as an academy player. You go to Duke University, John Kerr Jr., you stay 2 seasons, take off. It was the season that probably never was in 2020 with Portland Timbers 2 due to COVID.
Perez not going to beat Slayton that way. Not sure it was even going to test the confines of the net regardless.
Then it's Sporting Kansas City, the way that the fickle rules are, we'll say, within MLS, how he plays for 2 teams. In theory, you play for T2. Then you sign with Sporting Kansas City 2, never play a game, get drafted in the MLS draft by Austin last year. He did well for Austin in his what, 9 appearances, 10 appearances?
9.
I thought he did well for himself under Josh Wolf.
Long ball forward, an attempt to put a toe to that. Goes haywire for Sadie.
22 years of age, Mike. He's one of the guys that he's so young. There's still so much experience to come for him. There's also a learning curve that's there as well. And if you're not getting on the field regularly at that age, it's really difficult to continue to take those positive steps.
I mean, how many people have we spoken to where guy comes out of college, you're 22, 23 years old, and if you've seen a professional field at all, it's minimal. The flag had gone up here on Murphy, and you've got kids overseas in Europe that are 50, 60, 100 games into their career by the time they hit 22, 23.
And then those same guys come over here and dominate college.
Well, at Marshall they do. They are Marshall. Lewis. Johnson. What an insightful start to this half Joel Johnson has had.
Much more keen to keep the ball movement here. Hartford Athletic. Quick touches, one-touch football. Inside, outside. Talked about Joel Johnson. Now can you find the balance on the left? It still comes down to finding your 2 boys up top. Sadie, Rashawn Dali. I would make the argument that you'd still like to see a lot more out of Danny Barrera.
I don't know if that's his doing as much as the game has navigated away from him. Is this something where he needs to drop in, take possession of the ball, and allow his unique style of magical on and off ball movement to orchestrate around him?
One of the great things about Danny Barrera, especially within this system, is he's given the freedom to go and find the game. One of the biggest detriments is also within that freedom, there's also the confines that constrict him within a match, which is what you're seeing right now. So as he's trying to rotate to find the ball, the game is surpassing him a lot at certain points in time. And when it starts to go the other direction, now he's trying to play catch up, right? So it's, I go to look here, ball's turned over. Okay, I'm tracking back. We start to play the other direction. He's on the other side of the field. You watch him right now just outside the center circle. He's tucked in between basically 3 Miami players. Got a center back, an outside midfielder, and then Speedy Williams on the inside. I wouldn't want to be matched up against one of them. You got to load sandwich between 3.
Well, and there it is given away to Stanley, and now all of a sudden you're asking him to run the 50 yards back to eventually hope to win the ball back and start again. Perez was able to get Jadama to the ground. Tulu's going to run this down. What's the thought on Kyle Murphy at this stage, and now he's progressed within Miami FC? That was target number 1 for Anthony Pulis over the offseason, a striker with a consistent goal-scoring form in the league.
Still a lot to be desired, to be fair. Even just forget the goals and assists for a second. And he's not exactly a huge statistical guy in terms of distribution. He's going to be your goal scorer.
Yeah, and last year was an explosion unlike anything we had seen from him. To his credit, to Memphis's credit, Palacios, yeah, that's going to get out. That's a corner.
He also put together a double-digit season at Loudon. He was really good at RGV, and then all of a sudden, I don't want to say the wheels came off within the organization, but he stopped getting the repetitions that we thought he would. And so basically, what you have to figure out how to do after that is how do you continue to progress him as a striker, right? We just talked about Aiden Stanley at the outside back spot. Now you're talking about a guy at Clemson who's a couple years in.
Corner, Tulu out of play.
So he's been the guy. He's also been quieted. He's experienced that this year as well. I mean, look who's right behind him. You know, Romeo Parks, they brought him back. He's had success within the championship too. I would make the argument that for Miami FC so far this year, every single player on the field outside of the 9 position has shown us really good looks. Not all together, certainly not all 11 of them. But everybody outside of the 9 has been really, really good. And that's referencing both Parks and Kyle Murphy. You just saw the ball over his back shoulder that wasn't able to be completed by Josh Perez. Those are the growing moments. Next time that comes to you, you're going to have a real good understanding of what that guy's thinking. He's trying to get on the same page.
Well, Harry Watling is having a conversation here, and I think he's onto something. If you're going to give a yellow in the first 5 minutes the other way for an extremely similar foul on its face.
I'm with him, aren't you?
Yeah. Anywho, Lewis all the way past. That was Perez who had that tug. I mean, at some point, if you're going to spin a guy around completely while he's running into space, it's literally the definition of what you give a yellow card for. A definition. Well, there are a lot of ways you can get a yellow card.
Oh, and again, Peter Lee Vassell, 6 minutes into the first half, gets booked. Florian Velo, 10 minutes in, gets booked for kicking the ball away.
But we're talking eye for an eye.
We've seen the exact same thing from both teams, mind you, and yet the referee has done nothing about it.
This ball picked up. Apollon, and now rolled across, and Dolly put it wide. Hands to head from Prince Sadie, who put it on a platter, and Dolly was falling down as he tried to sweep that into the net.
One of the best assets that this team has had this season has been the press, and smartly done by Sadie here. He's been really good at getting people to commit in this situation. A little surprised he doesn't hit it, but smartly picks out the runner who comes inside Aiden Stanley. Not really much more you could say there, as that's really been the tail of the tape for Hartford this season.
See scores rotating at the top of your screen. Detroit 1-0 over Birmingham. Game aired on ESPN Deportes last night. RGV over New York. The interconference battle there, East versus West. Score another one for the West. And then there's scores tonight. A lot of 1-0 results at halftime. Indy 11 picking up a solid 45-minute performance and into the second half there. Las Vegas, Devin mentioned at halftime, Danny Trejo, who no one picked for the Golden Boot, is suddenly leading the way. Kyle Gregg scored in the 37th to add to Hilton's net destroyer in the third. Penny for Stanley's thoughts. How do you feel about collars on jerseys?
It's a necessity. Okay. I'm old school. I need, look, if you go collarless, I need a button. I need something. It says I'm formal, but I'm here to party.
Stanley taking his white-collar jersey off the field for a moment's time. We've gone an hour in Miami. The Miami FC, 16th minute, Kyle Murphy, the advantage here. And with a win tonight, they are square in the thick of the playoff race in the East. Johnson floats, header down and right into the waiting grasp of Sparrow, and Dolly looking far more inclined in this second half to open the scoring for Hartford.
Maybe the Athletic players saw something we didn't. What's the shout here? Because with the player in front.
That comes off
the hand?
Palacios' arm.
Is it off his arm?
Couple changes are coming here. You see Curry coming on. Othello Ba comes on. Aiden Stanley was not a player that Miami can afford to lose, and you hope that this is planned, but he had just come off. And Dolly, inconveniently, is going to come off right now in his best form of the night. And Mitchell Curry comes on in his stead.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Substitution for your Miami FC. Leading the game is number 12, Aiden Stanley.
So there are the changes. Curry actually was in Fort Lauderdale last year. Stanley walking this off with the athletic trainer by his side.
Leading the game, number 18, Rashawn Deleuze. Replaced by number 17, Mitchell Curry, in the 61st minute.
Saw Ba coming into the game. He has started 3 times, his first time off the bench this year. Both teams using their first sub window at the hour mark. Ushered out by Tulu. Came off of Segber's Apollon. There's Curry fresh into the game. Bounces all the way out to Murphy, shy of the halfway line, and ripped away by Brewitt. But a harsh step wins the ball back for Miami, and Lewis recovers now. Akinyoti falls down, and Lewis will carry forward. Vassell. Took it back by Sadie. Apollon. Johnson, he's been immense. He lofted that out of play.
Keep playing, fellas.
Segbers.
Good ball.
Better defense. Tulu.
That's just man versus a boy. Great speed by Tulu cutting back through. Florian Below couldn't creep up on him. A quick little diagonal. That's how they found Kyle Murphy on the first half goal.
Segbers. Oh, the seas are parting. Rolls this across to Silva. De Silva off the post. Slayton obscuring traffic. Brought down Murphy, cleared away by Brewitt. And play will come back here. Rolled forward, Sadie, Lewis. That'll scrape the moon. Tulu, Slayton way off his line. All right, let's take a look back here. Last attempt by De Silva.
Little kiss. Slayton gets a hand on this. That's a good save by the goalkeeper. Gets a tiny little kiss before it winks itself off the post.
Bah. Akinyoti, now Speedy Williams. Wonderful Segbers, but ball shoved back by Apollon. Sometimes Speedy doesn't come for much. I mean, we saw it was at the championship game in Louisville in 2017. That long ball forward. Subs are coming here. That is Lamar Walker coming in. Will replace Perez. Perez puts in a good 68-minute shift. And then Romeo Parks will come on for Kyle Murphy, who scored his first goal for the club in the 16th minute in his 5th appearance in the league. Dev, let's go all the way back to the 60th minute. This replay is brought to you by HellBiz Live. Penalty for you?
Live action. We kind of wondered what was going on, but bring it back. Watch the right arm right here as it hops up off the goalkeeper. Well, I'll tell you, first I thought yes, but as it comes that slow, shoulder. I actually see the shoulder. Watch. We're going to run it again. Watch the right arm. See, I see the shoulder. I don't see it come any further than that. That's what my eyes see.
For me, there's a little bit of bicep. One less arm day at the gym, and maybe we're having a different conversation. I'm not sure that Hartford sees the humor in this, but Segbers ahead. Lamar Walker. Got Apollon in the air. The return to Walker. He went down. Vassell. More changes to come here, and it's a trio of Hartford subs. How about this? Connor McGlynn, Yunus Budati, and Luca Perpa are all going to come in unison. Mr. Irrelevant, Budati in the 2020 MLS draft. The last pick of the draft in which 7 of the 8 final slots ended up being pass.
Leading the game is number 4. Number 4, Tutu. Number 8, Peter Lee Marcel. And number 10, Danny Baveka. They're replaced by number 2.
Well, Dev, it's intriguing to see the number of changes here at the same time, but you look at the adjustments they've made on each line, and you can see what they're trying to do here.
Well, they're also going to move Johnson back. Let's see as to whether or not they drift into a 4. That's my question mark here with the addition of Budati, because you can bump Budati up into the, obviously, wing back, but more in this situation, midfielder type role. I don't see Joel Johnson sitting on the right side of a back 3, which is why I feel like Johnson will slide in. You'll have Brewitt, Jadama, and then you can move Apollon there to the left.
I'm inclined to ask why you would ever try and sit Joel Johnson anywhere.
Well, again, the other side is you keep Apollon high, keep Jadama at the outside back spot, and you just keep those 2 next to each other. It's an option, right? You don't have to, but that looks to be what they're going to do. Brewitt and Jadama, they'll go side by side. Apollon will come to the left. Joel Johnson will go to the right, and Budati will push himself up into the midfield. It's fresh legs for sure, but you also wonder, what does it look like for Andre Lewis now? Because he's been pretty active on the inside. Now you bring him to more of a restricted role on that left wing, matched up against Mark Sedbergs, who's super difficult to break down.
Racing into the final third, got by Perpa, and Lewis was nearby. It never skipped to him, and now Parks dispossessed and taken on by Apollon. Out to Johnson, has support in the wide area. Budati delivers away from Curry. And neither team, I think, was really willing to acknowledge, hey, we have an Open Cup game coming up in short order. You know the fans are excited about getting MLS opposition on your home field. It's easy enough to get away from Parks. McGlynn has a cannon attached to that leg. With the service to the backside, header across, steered away Sparrow. Jadama got forward and lanced a header toward frame. And all the while, De Silva's gone down, and feels like this is a match delineated by bloodshed at this point, figurative or literal.
They've been really good over the last 15 minutes. Hartford Athletic changed personnel, changed shape. Now can you continue the onslaught of pressure that has come for the visitors? Here's one of your pieces on the board that has moved. Moju Jadama has come next to Tom Brewitt.
Good thievery there by Walker. Referee had a look at that from Sadie. That's Lewis again from McGlynn. This is a Hartford side, to your point at the beginning of the show, Devin, has not scored in their 4 games in the second half. They have scored in all 4 games. To your earlier point, something will in fact have to give. Johnson, grabbed by Sparrow.
He's gone with a single movement underneath Luca Perpa and Andre Lewis. Tired legs of Andre Lewis as he's done a ton of chasing. 75 minutes into this match in the midfield. Constantly tracking Speedy Williams and Bolu Akinyoti. Speedy Williams has been great for Miami FC so far. But within it comes more of an onus that Prince Sadie and Budati are going to have to work back a bit deeper defensively. That's not very characteristic of Sadie, who usually rotates on that front line. Phoenix Rising tried to use him primarily as a 9. Well, they would move him all across that front three, but the front three is exactly what it was. The way this Miami FC team was attacking was they were getting all of their numbers going forward. I say was because it's really become the show for Hartford over the last few moments of this match.
Palacios early. Turning Parks. Long run Budati. Never in question. What a tackle. Comes the pride of Creighton, dishing off. Lewis. Miami, by the way, has now reached 280 consecutive shutout minutes. Wondered perhaps how long it would take to close any leaks under Anthony Pulis. It hasn't taken long at all. Driven ball.
The good news is Hartford Athletic have continued to come higher and higher, Mike. If you watch, every single time they get on the ball, they're much deeper into Miami FC territory. The first half and even first 10 or 15 minutes of the second half, they were pinned deep in their own half. 25, 30 yards from goal, not the case now. Confrontation starts and ends right at that center circle. It allows them to give this relentless amount of pressure that's coming.
Pollen. Caught by Sparrow. Walker. There's McGlynn. McGlynn grew up two options, two goals: professional footballer or Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Joke's on you. He's a plan. It's both. You wonder why they kept giving him all those IQ tests. There's a reason for it.
Palacios making friends and influencing people. Good news about Palacios to this point, Devin, is we haven't had to talk about him. When that's your arguably fifth center back down the depth chart.
It's definitely getting down there for sure. They've done a lot on that right-hand side. Junior Palacios has come on the left shoulder of Mark Segbers. The departure of Paco Craig. Benu Femu slides over. Much better patience on the ball here as they start to work forward. Hartford Athletic, and to that, there's a favoritism that's come right over there. Everything has ended up, or what seems to have ended up, in the last portion of Joel Johnson. Yet to get anything off his foot, though. Everything's whipped in. No one's been on the end of it, right? How many times have we seen that so far? Good ball movement, ball to the outside. Fourth or fifth, knocks it in. No one's there.
Walker running off of Jadama. He's done a really good job being the focal point of that back line. You could argue he was, whether Tulu was in the game or not. Now it feels like he's the ultimate
Miami
sweeper.
FC corner kick.
Indirectly, he's been attacked a little bit more, and I've been a big fan of his for quite some time under Cameron Knowles and his time at Portland. Thought he did a really good job there.
Went home to Atlanta, captained that side, ATL UTD2.
And that was an Atlanta side that, let's just say there were a lot of moving pieces at that point in time.
He was all reliable.
How long have it?
Da Silva. Gonna sneak over the foot of Ofemu. "81 minutes gone here. The championship in full swing tonight. Atlanta has pulled level against Indy 11. That would be a really painful result at the mic if Indy doesn't get all 3 points. Vegas is up on Pittsburgh, and if that's not telling everyone in the league that they might actually be for real. Bouncing ball all the way to the end line. The Rowdies maintain their 2-goal advantage on Tulsa early in the second half. Caramount. Colorado Springs, perfect in the league, fell in the Open Cup. See if they can maintain that against Memphis tonight. That match is 40 minutes in. San Antonio, El Paso had a little more juice last year than it does this year, but we'll see.
I wouldn't tell San Antonio that. Might take offense. That's a handball.
It's not because of San Antonio.
No, I'm aware.
San Antonio gets to welcome Austin to their joint this week. Pollen.
That Colorado Springs result, by the way. They get a win there tonight. They'll do something that only 2 other teams have done in the USL Championship. 6 games with wins only. That's perfect to start the year. Richmond Kickers of 2011, Rochester Rhinos of 2012. Don't worry about that fast start though, Mike, because both of those teams, nobody won the title. It doesn't matter how quick you start, it's how you finish.
Ball ripped across. Did that catch the arm of Boudadi? Didn't appear so, but surely Velo caught every bit of Boudadi. Velo, a 2-year deal after time in the Red Bull organization and at FC Cincinnati in Miami.
I got a sub for Luke.
McGlynn. Sent long over Sadie. Pierce O'Brien will come in for Hartford, replacing Sadie. And 2 games at Real Monarchs. First appearance in the league for Hartford after getting the leading role in the Open Cup game against Oyster Bay. Deb, we had a really insightful talk with Harry Watling about his inclusion in this team. You've been a fan of O'Brien for a while.
He's a local Connecticut boy that started with Oakwood up in the Northeast, got an opportunity, Real Salt Lake program, and then all of a sudden the Real Monarchs come calling. He's young though, Mike. You know, one of the things you have to look at when a player gets that opportunity and then comes home is you kind of wonder, okay, well, what are the circumstances around it? Age is always going to be one of the main determining factors. Just 17 years of age, goes out there at 16, he's on his own, it's during COVID, doesn't see his family. But when you listen to the scouts around him, already repping for the Republic of Ireland youth national team at the U15 age group.
Ball comes down and laid off by Jadama, deflection or two along the way.
And not only that, his performances in general, both at the Monarchs, but then the Real Salt Lake organization, and here already at Hartford. He makes his debut in the championship, but in their Open Cup game against Oyster Bay, his manager, best player on the field in the first half. That's the praise that he was able to get. And that's a 17-year-old playing with legitimate men. And it's a young man who's got a lot of promise, a long way to go, but it gives you an idea of the talent level that he's capable of.
There's a foul. De Silva went down. By the way, I thought it was important that Harry Watling noted this, the conversation he had with Pierce O'Brien's parents. I believe I'm the right guy to help develop this talent, but we're not going to do it by making him a training player for 8 months and seeing where we're at the end of the year. You're going to play in the under-19 game, then you're going to turn around and travel to Miami 2 days later, and you may play, and in reality, he did. Here's the final change here for Miami. Dewana comes on, the 21-year-old Ghanaian, second appearance.
We've really only seen him deep within this system so far for Miami FC. Play a more advanced role up underneath Romeo Parks. I said this going in, Mike, at halftime. Played really well, Miami FC, in the opening 45 minutes. You go up 1-0. It's 41 minutes later. It's still only 1-0, and this Hartford team is coming. You know, it took them 60, 65 minutes to really get going. And that could be their detriment, right? They could end up short again. But that's going to be the main talking point for Anthony Pulis right now. It's, guys, we got to finish this job off. Let's pick it up here a little bit. Some fresh legs, see if we can go get a security one at the end.
Walker gets it across. Parks! Right on cue! Romeo Parks full speed ahead. Miami FC 2-0 up. A Miami FC goal powered by Helbiz, and both strikers in on the act tonight.
Everything on the front line for Miami FC started off with guys inverting inside out, right to left. You get the same thing with the changes in Lamar Walker. Watch him attack the space of the 10. Coming from the right flank back to the inside, Brewitt loses the runner, and there it is. There's the padding, the precision from Walker, the pace from Parks. And most importantly, you've got your security goal. You've got your 3 points.
88th minute, Romeo Parks. The 16th minute goal from Kyle Murphy. And suddenly these two strikers are seemingly very much in form. And Miami, celebratory atmosphere with a couple minutes to go. And Anthony Pulis and this Miami side that refused to consider what laid ahead on Tuesday night might finally have the opportunity to do so. And Hartford hearts are broken yet again as it stands. Perpa off of Speedy Williams, and there's no quit. 90 seconds to go. How quickly can they get the corner? Maybe get a point here. And while they're happy with the 2 goals, one would think 4 clean sheets for Miami, all competitions. Clean sheets win championships, Anthony Pulis said. Surely they'd like to keep this and inch a little closer for the league lead, with Louisville City leading the way there.
How good's that run by Lamar Walker, by the way?
Gone.
Dear Lord, I mean, steps on it, beats one player, cuts back to the inside, ball at his feet the entire time, and just takes off. Not only that, after he beats the player, the unselfishness to let it fly, because he could have continued to go it alone. Tried to have a crack on his own instead. Picks up his head, Romeo Parks, just inside the 18. Head down, pick out a corner. And there's your cushion.
Closing in on stoppage time. Palacios. Ball fold through midfield.
6 changes. Ivan, you
Parks.
gotta do your job. Keep moving it, Bob.
3 added minutes. Ball's moving well here from Miami. If you're Hartford, we talked about it, and look, a lot of people go, feels like an excuse. But the matches they've had to start the year, among the most difficult schedules in the league, they're finally going to get a couple home games in quick succession here. They're going to host New York Red Bulls in the Open Cup, and regardless of result, 3 days later, take on an expansion Detroit City side, go away to Indy that are struggling again tonight, and then host a Loudoun side that's been a positive surprise to start the year. It's going to be a really important moment. Budati got it wide, and this is handled by Sparrow.
This team played really well for 25 minutes. The problem is it's a 90-minute game, right? They literally started playing at the 60-minute mark. Maybe even 65.
And think about when they made that trio of changes. And as a manager, when you consider the adjustment within a game versus is that my best 11? It's a complicated bit of which wire do you cut.
Well, the other side of it is too, Mike, is I'd rather go through these growing pains.
Yep.
As plain as it is of me to say. Now. Like, how many times have we seen teams do this 15, 20, 25 games into the season? All of a sudden, they hit the pause button. And you're looking around going, boys, you're supposed to be getting better right now. You're supposed to be hitting the playoff mark with a ton of momentum, and that's not the case. So if I'm wearing one of their jerseys right now in Hartford Athletic, I'm going, all right, we get it. It hasn't been great, but it certainly hasn't been poor. You can agree with me that there have been some quality spots tonight that shows you this team can play.
Dance over, and De Silva strips this free.
The problem is you do it against Miami, against Birmingham, the Rowdies, Pittsburgh. We'll see what that looks like next weekend against Detroit, Indy. These are the teams that are going to make you pay if you don't start quick.
Well, in Detroit, on your home field, all due respect to Detroit.
We'll see.
That's the kind of game that you should get back on track with. And that's not a knock on Detroit. It's a team that hasn't been there yet. You've got home field advantage. Schedule's unrelenting.
The stretch right now. I'm just going to name the teams. Forget the location for a second. Detroit, Indy, Loudoun, Red Bull, 2, Tulsa. Mix in an Open Cup game there.
Herpa trying to get through. So float up, Apollon trying to get under it. O'Brien dangerously over the top. Falls toward Lewis. Referee's gonna have a glance at his watch. And that's full time. Miami FC stringing together wins now and in great form ahead of the Miami Derby on Tuesday night. A 2-0 win in which both strikers score, Parks and Murphy, and the latest shutout for Connor Sparrow. Miami FC 2, Hartford 0.
Back-to-back wins for the first time this season, Mike. Hard to believe with a team that just picked up its 4th shutout on the year. Starting to gain some momentum. They're getting healthy. And everybody around the USL Championship, watch out, because this is a scary beast that you're going to have to deal with if it continues in this fashion.
We're going to step aside, come on back with full-time highlights, a look at stats, and wrap this one up. Miami FC earning the V. 2-0 over Hartford.
Some people think Miami is just flamingos and palm trees.
And hell yes, we have badass sunsets.
But Miami's Little Havana,
Doral,
Little Haiti,
Hialeah,
Wynwood, Coconut Grove,
Kendall,
Calle Ocho,
Sweetwater,
Homestead,
cortaditos y coladas
empanadas y croquetas.
is so much more. This is the 305.
This is who we really are. This is what we are all about.
I am Latino.
I'm a disruptor.
I am LGBTQ.
I am a villain.
I am a mother.
I am Haitian.
I am an athlete.
I am an activist.
I am a king.
I am American Dream.
I am the future.
I am
Miami FC.
Tonight's match is presented in part by Helbiz, by Miami Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute, and by Macron. Mike and Devin to wrap this one up as the Miami FC wins it 2-0 over Hartford Athletic on a gorgeous night. The moon obscured marginally at Ricardo Silva Stadium. Miami FC now is inching higher and higher in the standings. Dev, let's take a look at the Helbiz Live full-time highlights. We start in the 16th minute of play. We've seen this movie before.
As good as Miami FC was against the Tampa Bay Rowdies, they came out even better against Hartford Athletic. The difference? How good could they be in the final third? They were really good. They provided themselves a lot of opportunities. The problem in previous games was they couldn't finish them off. That wasn't the case. Kyle Murphy, 16 minutes in. What a ball over the top from Paco Craig. They're up 1-0. Response, Apollon from distance. Yeah, we got a problem. We got a problem. But Connor Sparrow is there. Watch this touch. Lady Luck, thank you so much. We stay at 1-0 just before halftime. A little bit more luck, isn't it? Akinyoti, De Silva, same thing. Woodwork. Jimmy Slayton takes a couple of prayers at halftime, takes a couple of breaths. They get back at it. And now we're starting to play if you're Hartford Athletic. The press was relentless all night long, but the second half was much better. And this was the moment of your time to shine. Great step in. The back line discombobulated, ball back across. Sadie can't believe it. How does Rashawn Dolly not hit the 8x8? We will never know. It stays at 1-0. And is this a handball? Mike, I still say no. Watch the right arm. I see shoulder here, and only shoulder. I don't see it hit the arm and the elbow. Call me crazy.
And indeed, no penalty given. Skip ahead to the 87th, and Walker, he leads the charge here and draws everybody in. A look over the shoulder, it's way too late to catch up. Parks.
It goes from the press by Hartford to the presser by Walker, all the way to Parks. It's the dagger, 87th minute. Unselfish by Lamar Walker. This is a game that you looked at, Mike, and statistically, you got to be really careful here because similar in shots, the possession is one. They're more efficient on the ball, Hartford Athletic. More passes, more final third entries. But this was an eye test game. When you looked at the body of work, they weren't good enough from the top of their 18. Excuse me, they were only good enough from the top of their 18 to the center circle. Everything else was Miami FC. Good performance for Anthony Pulis and co.
Well, Hartford will welcome New York Red Bulls for the Open Cup. Miami will welcome Inter Miami for their next home match. Tickets available. Miami FC will welcome Inter Tuesday night. So for our entire Vista WorldLink NEP crew, led by producer Jeremy Otter, director Red Osejo, Gabe Sosa, Jason Goebel, Devin Kerr, alongside Mike Watts saying thanks for watching. The Miami FC with the shutout and the two strikers on the score sheet. 2-0 over Hartford. Have a good night, everybody.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.